Grand Rising, beautiful beings, coming live from the garden. And I just thought I'd share, look, the carrots are coming up. Snow peas are still doing. I planted on the weekend and I got my first collie, second collie. Tomatoes are doing well. So I did some tidying up, did some pruning and some mulching and some weeding. So lots of goodies coming up. Isn't the zucchini flower beautiful? Look at the colour, it's so vibrant. That's where your zucchini comes from. So this is my office. This is where my office, where I'm gonna look into the camera and have a chat. And the wind's just started to pick up. Northeasterly. That's what that is. That's my wormwood asparagus. Asparagus is doing amazing. And the peas, I planted some more peas and greens, comfrey, beetroot. That's a transplanted passion fruit there. I'm hoping that'll come good. It was self-sown in the paddock. And that's the chamomile flowering over there. And that, I thought, see that there? That looks like the perfect Christmas tree. It's a lettuce gone to seed. So I'm hoping the bees will enjoy that, hopefully. So good morning. Oh. Oh, welcome to the office. It's Tuesday morning. And it's been a week since I've actually shared this. I have recorded probably 3 or 4 times the first chapter of A Spirited Life. And because of the space I was in, I found it really challenging because it's going to challenge a lot of beliefs and it's probably going to trigger a lot of people. And maybe that's why I've put off sharing it. But to me, it is a truth. So chapter 1 in A Spirited Life is beliefs versus truths. Reality check, please. And it's got a lot to do with is understanding what you believe. And a lot of people don't. They've just adopted beliefs, patterns, habits, the way of being from external influences. And media is very good at that. Very, very good at that. So I kept wondering, it's like, how far do you question? My spirit name is Of Why, spelled O-F-W-H-Y, Of Why. And they said to me, it's like, no fancy spirit names for you. Of Why is who you are because I ask questions. And I know those questions that I ask can trigger people, because it's trying to get to the truth of it for me. I'm really not good with ambiguity. And so I ask questions for clarity, and now I understand why. But we've got to question. Otherwise, we're just blindly following the next person, who is blindly following the next person, who is blindly following the next person. And before you know it, we're this runaway freight train heading for the edge of the cliff about to go off, and everyone's so oblivious to it. I know that's a bit heavy. And our focus, which is our left-thinking brain, which we've been conditioned now to come predominantly from, is so honed in and focused on the everyday, mundane policy procedures bullshit that the world has got us spinning in. Completely oblivious and unaware of what's going on in other parts of the world, because we're only watching mainstream news outlets, so we're really not aware of what else is going on that may not be getting shared. We don't think to go and do our own research and see what else is out there. Focus is very small and on the man-made concepts that we live by. Yet we are on a planet floating through the universe. We're in a complete solar system, which is in another system, which is in another system, which is in another system. And it's got cycles, and it's got other solar systems that their cycles play out, not just humans, but there are grander cycles playing out. But our focus and our minds are way down here, and we're oblivious to what's going on. So it's how many people are aware we're actually experiencing I think this is how you pronounce it, the 6th level extinction event? Or is it the 6th event extinction level? No, I think it's the the 6th level extinction event. That means dying off. And it's not until it's the big creatures that start dying off that maybe humans will wake up and go, oh. But at this rate, it's all the subspecies, and man's not doing anything fucking good, to excuse my swearing, to help that by killing the bees, by introducing GMO insects, and now they're wanting us to eat worms and crickets and all sorts of things. As you got to think, where is this heading? Who thought up this madness? If they're talking about protein, getting protein into your body, we can eat proteins, but it doesn't necessarily mean your body absorbs it. But one of the best products, or one of the best foods, I should say, sorry, not products, one of the best foods is hemp seeds. Hemp seeds is one of the best foods that we actually absorb proteins from. And it's got so many other goodness that goes with it. And that's just hemp seeds. Spirulina is another really good food that has got all-round nutrition in it as well. There's so many things that we could be eating. It doesn't got anything to do with animals. So we need to question, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? How are we doing it? And I lost my train of thought as to where I was, how I squirreled. And this is what happens, I squirrel. So it's challenging belief systems and concepts and constructs. So the 6th extinction event we are experiencing. Our upper layers in our stratospheres, the magnetospheres, that's breaking down. So more cosmic rays are actually coming through to the planet, and we're not separate from it. We're going to be impacted by those cosmic rays, and you can see because the auroras they're coming further up the globe. So before we used to only have them at the north and south poles and around those areas. Now they're creeping closer to the equator because they're able to come through more. And the earth wobbles off, and the jet streams doing weird things, and so there's lots of things going on that's just not man-made, man-created, man-thought up, concept made by man. There are the other cycles that happen that have got nothing to do with us, but we are a part of it because we are part of this whole system. We're not separate from it. So I spoke into the introduction last week into A Spirited Life, and I spoke about the meaning of spirit. It is the vital principle in humans, emanating the body or mediating between body and soul. Mind, the human consciousness that originates in the brain and is manifested especially in thought, perception, emotion, will, memory, and imagination. So the mind. Matter is this physical vehicle, and matter actually means any physical object consists of or is composed of substances that are solid, liquid, gaseous, or any substance that actually takes up space. That's us. That's matter. Magic to me is well, in this definition, is the art of influencing events and producing marvels using hidden natural forces. That's magic. Is intent, engender, purpose, frequency, vibration, thought, that interfaces and interacts with, because we don't do it on our own. And I think we forget to acknowledge that. We forget to acknowledge Creator, Source, Spirit, God, which stands for Grand Overseer of all divine designs in my world. We don't do this alone. We actually interface and interact with that energy, that consciousness, that frequency. And it picks up on our frequency, picks up on our prayers, our intent, our agendas. And that sends it out to the world. It manifests and comes back. It's interaction. It's synergy. We don't do it alone. They don't do it alone. We work together. But nature, Source, Creator, God, Great Spirit, is in all things, is in this garden, is in the plants, in the white cockatoo flying past, landing in the paddock. There he is. Hello. But not all things are in God. Not all things are in spirit. So the Spirited Life is a program I wrote many moons ago. It's broken down into 3 modules and 3 chapters in each module. And each chapter covers mind, matter, magic. Module 1 I called the Nutcracker because that's pretty much what it is. It's going to challenge your beliefs. It's going to say beliefs versus truths. Reality check, please. Your beliefs don't make things true. And you might call it your truth, but you're really better off defining the word truth is saying, this is my belief. Just because it's your truth actually doesn't make it true. Just because it's your truth doesn't actually make it real or actual. It just makes it your belief. So it challenges that. And it challenges a lot of things about what people do, what society does. Everything, how we live our life now, has been like a carrot dangled on a stick in front of us, and we've followed it and we've implemented it. We've followed somebody else's idea about how we're supposed to be living, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Where did that come from? How long has that been around? Not that long when you look at the history of humankind. Not that long. Education system. How long's that been around? And what we're taught. That's like question everything. We were so trusting, so naive and so gullible, and even with television, that when ads came along, we believed the ads. We didn't do research. We didn't think to go, what are the ingredients in this? Television's telling me that it's okay, that it's great to drink, and look, it's going to make me happy and do all sorts of things. But what are the ingredients? And I think a lot of us in our hearts thought, oh, there's no way other people would do that. There's no way they would sell something that would be harmful, addictive, or lethal. But we've realized they do. And that was a big shock. That was a big awakening. Realizing that not everybody has humanity's best interests at heart. Not everybody has human bodies, human minds, human hearts' best interests at heart. Whether it's for profit, greed, control, disdain, disinterest, dislike of humankind, even though they are human. It's like some adults who absolutely hate children. It's like, did they forget they were a child once? Maybe that's where it stemmed from. I just find it baffling. So hence a Nutcracker. Chapter 1, Mind, Empowering Beliefs. Beliefs versus truth. Reality check, please. And I'll read into it, but I also wanted to challenge a lot of the fashion trends, because I follow a few things on YouTube, and then you see the ads that come up, and it's about, let's have fuller lips because then you'll look younger. Let's do our eyebrows, and then you see how women and men cleverly apply makeup to make them look completely different. And I don't think what people realize is it's all fake. It's not real. We're getting so further away from authenticity of owning who we are, how we are, why we are. Instead, we're painting over it. We're filling it up. We're recreating it, remoldering ourselves to look like what? But I think, generations to come, when they look back over this period, they're going to laugh, just like we look back over the 80s and go, what was with the big shoulder pads? What was with the big hair and the perms and the bright makeup and the heels and the taffeta dresses? And we just had no idea. But now when you start to wake up and you start to question, you look back and then you realize all those clothes, all the fashion trends, we throw them away, but where is away? There is no away. They say the amount of clothes that, I don't know, could fill up I don't know how many football fields. And it happens every day. Consumerism is out of control. It seriously is out of control. And it's what drives debt. You spending makes you have to work. And then you're tied to your own lifestyle. But you don't question it because you think that's just what you do. Let's go shopping. Let's go buy. Let's go consume. Not realizing the actual energy footprint of what you're contributing to is actually hurting the earth and hurting yourself in the long run as well, because it's contributing to the plastics in the world. It's contributing to the chemicals in the world. And so then we point the fingers going, oh, there's so many plastics and there's so many chemicals. And yet we are part of the problem because of our consumerism. It's think, question. The mind, when you look at the brain, it's got the left hemisphere and it's got the right hemisphere. They're completely separate. The left hemisphere is very much about the physical world and interfacing with it. So I can look into this camera and talk to you. I'm sitting in my garden. I can touch my lettuce. I can have my cup of tea. I can talk. I dressed myself. I brushed my hair. I don't have to learn these things every day. I can now do them ingrained. It's natural. It's innate. But it wasn't always that way. I had to learn to sit. I had to learn to stand, walk, crawl, talk, dress myself, all those things. That's what the left brain has helped us do, is interface, and it's programmable. And it's programmable because we have to learn these things every day, so it becomes natural, innate, ingrained. But because it's programmable, it's corruptible. And this world has predominantly I don't know how to describe it yet, but we come from the left brain so much that we now distrust the right hemisphere, which is your intuitive brain, which is a different way of interfacing with this physical world, this reality. But the more balanced we become, the more we tune into that intuitive mind that helps us feel the unseen worlds and sense things. Instinct. We're coming from intellect, we're not coming from instinct, where we should be coming from both, being guided by our hearts and listening to our guts. That's a holistic view. It's not just physical, it's not just spiritual. We are all those things combined. There is a mental plane, an emotional plane, a spiritual plane, and a physical plane. This is a physical plane. But when we're in our heads and we're thinking, that's the mental plane, and you can't touch it. You can't smell it. You can't even read it because it's in the ethers. It's not a physical, tangible process, I guess you could call it. So the mind, this is the part of the mind I'm speaking to, which is the left hemisphere, which is the thinking mind. And they've done scientific studies of how quantum physics, this is a holographic universe, when you look at our cells at a subatomic level, it's vibration, it's frequency, and our DNA emits a light, and yet here I am, physical, touching the phone, can feel things. It's a very complex but simple world at the same time, such a paradox. Mind, they say, is what creates our actual experience of reality. Through the mind is how we physically manifest this physical reality. It is all about perception and what you believe. We think, therefore we exist. And you do. People, we think every day. We think even when we dream. Our mind is on. When we're unconscious, we're not interfacing with the world. We're unconscious, we're out, we're gone. But when we are conscious, we are thinking. We may not be aware of it, but our eyes alone take in so much information that we're not even aware of what it's processing. When we're asleep, we're dreaming. The body's still got to function, so the brain is still working. It's still thinking. We're just not conscious of the thoughts, but it's still thinking because I'm still breathing when I'm sleeping. My organs are still functioning when I'm sleeping. So the brain is still on. For what would we see? What would we feel? What would we do? And what would we be if we did not think? What is it to think? Every moment, every thought, we are thinking, which means use of one's mind actively to form connected ideas. That means to say lines of thought. Thinking is not made up of random thoughts, although I was thinking about this the other day when I did another recording, was Alzheimer's or dementia. Something does happen to the brain and they do experience random thoughts, which is quite unfortunate. But in a healthy model, thinking is not made up of random thoughts. It is made up from words strung together, then when put together and read out loud, form your beliefs, which is what I'm doing. I'm reading out loud my thoughts. When analysing these thoughts, these beliefs may appear random on the surface, but there are deeper connections between beliefs that we are unconscious and even unaware of. When you think about fear, if you live in a state of anxiety, it wouldn't be just around one thing. It could be around 2, 3, 4. It could be around many things. It could be around all things. So they're connected. It's that underlying thread that connects all your concepts and aspects of yourself together. Our beliefs are formed at very early stages of our lives. When you think about it, you were born like a clean slate. You weren't born believing a religion. You weren't born believing in racism. You weren't born believing in bigotry. You weren't born in being a misogynist. You weren't born in being a feminist. These are all beliefs that you have picked up along the way, most likely from other people, not from in here, but from out here. And these beliefs literally form how we interpret life later as adults. For some people, those beliefs are grounded, nurturing, healthy and positive from healthy, positive childhood experiences. And these days, unfortunately, that's the rarity. However, not all early life experience set those kind of foundations. Those that are not aware that their foundational belief systems or what they are, they tend to run on automatic pilot, where they are just existing in life. Yet meanwhile, behind the autopilot, there lays thoughts buried so deep, they actually walking ignorantly blind to the influence the beliefs have over them, and also to the potential for healthier, more empowering thoughts and beliefs. Because what can happen as a child, if you're going through trauma and abuse, we don't have the experience, the language, the wisdom to not internalize and personalize. We do as children. We don't have that comparison to know this is not about me, that's about that person, that's about the adult, it's about the other. But we don't, so we take it inside. That was an interesting noise. I'm here alone. Oh, it could be Gus. Listening to the birds, it could be Gus the goanna coming out for his walk. Now I've got to remember where I was. When, as a child, we suffered trauma and or abuse, we had to go into survival mode, and we learnt to tolerate far more than what is healthy to survive. And then underneath those strategies to survive, there would have been an unconscious underlying thought that, well, if my own family doesn't love me, there must be something wrong with me. And we know that that's not true. We know that that's just generational trauma, family dysfunctions and patterning playing out time and time again. And some people are just wired different, and they're just wired to be on the polarity spectrum of being nasty. There are others on the other end that are kind, but there are those that are nasty. It's just reality. So you grow up with these fundamental beliefs from your childhood experiences now dictating a lot of what you're experiencing life as an adult. And those thoughts, those narratives that we now have attached to those memories are what causing us a lot of grief. So as an adult, it's learning to go back to those narratives, to those memories, and rephrasing it, correcting those false thoughts, those false beliefs, the false narrative attached to those memories, because at the time we didn't know different, we didn't know better, we didn't know truth, we just knew, well, we didn't know, and that's why we created the mess that we're in. When an individual begins to awaken, that means when someone starts to become aware of themselves, and that their thoughts are the building blocks to their experiences, self-awareness. So awakening is when you start to become self-aware, that what you think, what you feel, what you say, what you do, what you believe is actually what's affecting your life, is dictating your experiences, is attracting into you your world, your relationships, that which you are holding inside. When that starts to happen, you actually start to become aware of those buried beliefs and those lines of thought, because it's the only way you get to shift and change it, is by questioning, by looking at what those beliefs are, what's dictating me, what's driving this mess. And if it's one thing all the great masters tried to tell us, and that's the answers are within. Life is a journey of self-awareness and maturity, self-mastery. There are many opportunities which may begin the journey of self-mastery, and that's when we find ourselves in life-changing experiences like a health crisis, faced with your own mortality, a desire to self-love and self-actualize, major arguments, crisis, and or at major crossroads. That's when we usually start to awakening experience. And some people go deep with that actualization, and some people go shallow. It's just the way it is. This is asking us to go deep. This is asking us to really go deep and look at some fundamental truths about reality versus beliefs. It may be at these moments when either the emotional pain or the realization that something has to change is so evident that you must start to look at yourself. When the pain of holding on outweighs the pain of letting go, you'll let go. And it's at these moments, those buried lines of thought, the autopilot thoughts, the things that are buried deep, will start to come to the surface. To not only be acknowledged, but to be integrated, to be accepted with compassion and empathy, not more criticism, not more judgment, not more belittling or berating. Be done with that about yourself. Especially if your intent has been not to harm. Do no harm. I think there are some people that can quite consciously, deliberately do harm and still live with themselves. I'm not talking about those kind of people. One of the biggest tool tips I can give for me speaking into this program, and if you wanted to be a part of it or just listen to it and integrate some of it, is keep an open mind. That's all. Just keep an open mind. Open mind. Don't shut anything off. Just be open. Don't try not to dismiss anything quick smart. Sit with it. Hold on to it. Question it. Challenge it beside your beliefs. let it kind of like swirl around in you before you go, yeah, nah. Sit with things, keep an open mind. I find it wise to remember that every person, every single being on this planet holds, and this includes plants, animals, everything that's got a consciousness. Everything's going to hold a unique personal perspective, specific and relative only to him or her. Their life and their beliefs have only happened to them and has happened through their own interpretation from external experiences and influences. So every single person on this planet has a unique personal perspective on life. Got to slow down. Relative to only him or her. Their life and their beliefs have only happened to them, to me, to you. And that has happened through my own interpretation, your own interpretation from external experiences and influences. And we can only ever interpret another person's experiences through our own lens and filter of our own life experiences and formed fundamental beliefs. We can't. We can empathize, and we can get a glimpse of, and we can try to imagine what it's like to be in another person's shoes, but we can never wholly, fully embrace, be that other person, because we can only be ourselves. We can only fully embrace and be ourselves. We can certainly have similar experiences, but how we've interpreted it and what we've done with those experiences, again, is a personal choice. However, beliefs do not make something true, right, or wrong. It just makes it your belief. For the most part, beliefs are just a matter of opinions rolled up to look like truth. And when we start to question those beliefs that are negative and or limiting, we begin to realize what those opinions and judgments are that we believe. So when we start to question those beliefs that are negative or limiting, we begin to realize what those opinions and judgments are. Every person believes in something. Every single person believes in something. Even if the ones that say they believe in nothing, they still believe in something. It just happens to be nothing. So there still is a belief. They say, I believe in nothing. That statement in itself, I believe in nothing. Believe in nothing. They believe in something. It just happens to be nothing. Whether we realize it or not, we all hold beliefs. And in holding these beliefs, we inadvertently believe our beliefs. Believing in our beliefs means we believe everything we think. To me, this is one of the surest, quickest, most simplest ways to attract small-mindedness and bigotry into our lives. So the danger begins when we believe everything we think, whereas generally our thoughts are assumptions, not fact or universal truths. Your living is determined not so much by what life brings to you as by the attitude you bring to life. Not so much by what happens to you as by the way your mind looks at what happens. Khalil Gibran, that was written by. Most people will seek out evidence to support their beliefs, so their beliefs in turn get stronger. Whether their beliefs are true doesn't seem to matter, as long as they find evidence of some sort to support them. On the other hand, beliefs will become weaker and open to correction when they are questioned, especially in the face of contradictions. Which comes first though, thought or belief? It is the thought that comes first, and even though as adults we may not remember our thoughts from childhood, so you imagine you're in a really challenging experience. You would have had thoughts at that moment in time as you were living it, experiencing it, that was racing through your head. Those thoughts came first before they started to set up your fundamental beliefs. So however you reacted at that moment in time, and it can be flash, And you may never actually know what those thoughts were because we don't remember to retrain them. We may be in shock. We may be in survival mode. So everything that's going on is going into implicit memory. So we don't have a memory to recall. But those thoughts that we were thinking at the time of that experience are still attached to those memories. So it's the thought that comes first. Even though as adults we may not remember our thoughts from childhood, our early childhood experience is stored in our implicit memory and form the basis to our beliefs. It is the combination of these thoughts that then make up our belief systems. If we think something long enough, we will experience it because that is the thought we are thinking. Thoughts have energy and will attract that which we focus on. This then supports the beliefs, thus setting up a repeating cycle of that experience. And a lot of my interpersonal relationships were kind of like based on my childhood experiences and family dysfunction, repeating them and playing them out, but not at a conscious level. And it's not until you can self-reflect and look back over hindsight that, especially if you do self-reflect and question to self-heal and evolve and mature, is you see your own patterns and you question why, and you can look beneath. And family constellations is another really good modality because it helps you to see characters, not so much the people, because the characters can replicate themselves into other people. I hope that makes sense. Remember, where thoughts go, energy flows, reality grows, results show. So where your thoughts were going, at some point, you'd be living that experience now. So you can see what you were thinking by the results. Another tooltip: question those thoughts. Don't believe everything you think. We see only one very small aspect of any given thing, while ignorantly and arrogantly, easily dismissing another's experience or perspective and believe our own assumptions and presumptions. I think that's one of the reasons why I ask questions. I ask for clarity so I don't make assumptions, because I know myself that well that my mind can scroll down very many rabbit holes thinking up all sorts of things where it's just easier to ask for clarity, and then I don't assume. And if the other person lies, well, that's on them, not on me. And more often than not, when we think something or what someone is doing is impacting on us, they're saying or doing something and it's having an impact on us, and we usually think it's all about them, and we don't take accountability that it could be about us. And where we think it's all about us, what someone is saying or doing, it's generally something they're going through. So say one day someone's a bit short with you, you might come away and go, what did I say? What did I do to make them be that way? And it could have absolutely nothing to do with you. Something could have been happening in another aspect of their life that you don't know about. But either way, at the end of the day, whether it is about you or whether it's not about you, it comes down to you anyway, whether you've got to self-reflect or not take things personally. So again, it's not about the other anyway at the end of the day. It's about how you're responding. Either self-correct or don't take things personally. When we learn to challenge our thoughts that limit us, hold us back, or are self-damaging, we open ourselves up to opportunities for change at fundamental levels. There's a saying here: all personal breakthroughs begin with a change in beliefs. All personal breakthroughs begin with a change in beliefs. That's where you start to change at a fundamental level and has a completely different impact on your life. We have to let go of beliefs to get to the truths. Another tool tip: to assist in challenging these limiting thoughts, start writing them down in a journal without editing, censoring, judging or holding back. Let it all spew out. Write it all. Everything, every gnarly, bitter, resentful, painful, hurtful, sorrowful, every thought, write it down. Especially if you're going through a process, if you're triggered and there's something big going on in your life and you're feeling it, get it out onto paper. Allow them to flow onto the paper. When you have exhausted your thoughts in writing, close it, put it away for at least a few hours, if not a few days, before going back and challenge yourself when you reread them and ask yourself, what are those thoughts? What were you thinking? What is underneath all of that? And you'll be able to know, you'll be able to see, and even by reading and assessing what you've written, you can almost get a sense of what age you actually are in that reactive state. Because you aren't being your adult self, you're being your child self. But at what age and at what moment at that age happened to you to have that kind of reaction, that kind of fear, that kind of trigger? There would have been something there in that life, in that time of your life. Practice maintaining a healthy balance between thinking and doing. Allow yourself time every day, whether it's 5 minutes or 55 minutes, to sit silently in a safe space, quiet space, and ask yourself, what do you need? And if an answer doesn't come straight away, that's okay. Just sit there and focus on your breathing. Do the box breathing. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4, and do that just for 5 minutes. Slowing your breathing down, because you're counting and because you're focusing in on your breath, you're not externally stimulated so much anymore, but you're coming back into yourself and to your body, and you're learning to self-soothe by slowing your breathing down. And because you're focusing on counting, that'll help distract your thoughts, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Every day, do something positive that your future self will thank you for. So I'm excited. I'm starting not a detox, but a different food regime, because I haven't been well the past few weeks. I'm realizing there's certain foods again that trigger my body into inflammation, and when my body goes into inflammation, it affects my mind. I get puffy, really lethargic. It's like my body feels like it weighs twice its weight. It's not that I feel fatter, but I just feel heavier, that it's like a job to move. And my body's been telling me for a while that it's looking for live food, raw food, healthy food, unprocessed foods that I can just pick and eat. And my body just seems to love that. So it's lots of healthy salads and juices and smoothies. I'm excited. So I'm cutting out a lot of processed foods, because I'm finding, again, this is part of the journey, that, and I'll be speaking into this in future chapters, but there was at some point, corporations in law became acknowledged as a person. And then not long after that came the corporate law that corporations have to make profit. So for corporations to keep having to make profit, they've got to find ways to get their money from us, but also cut costs at the same time while they're producing things. So you can find the ingredients of things are getting less, prices are going up, they're not made or built to last anymore, and it's just this, it's huge. Again, it's this consumerism. So realizing that, processed foods, this current age, are very different to even when I was a child. I think the quality was a lot better when we were younger, so say back in the 60s, 70s, than what the quality of food is now. And I react quite quickly to preservatives, MSG, colours, flavours, additives, numbers, weird shit that they put in food now. My body just goes, yeah, no, I can't do it. I was talking to a friend and then said, it's like we're the canaries in the coal mine, that we react quickly to a food. It's like telling other people, don't eat that, because it's, long term it's going to do you damage. So I think it's a really good thing and I'm excited to get even healthier, and I'll have energy and clarity, and it'll be great. And that's on me. That's my responsibility. That's having to change some fundamental beliefs in my mind to accept that those kind of foods, they're not foods actually, I don't know what to call them, products, do not suit my body. So it's a mindset. So my belief is they do me harm, judging by experience, personal experience, by what my body reacts to. This is what my body needs, and we'll give that a try and see what happens. So every day do something positive that your future self will thank you for. For example, drink plenty of clean water. Town water has got chlorine, fluoride and heavy metals in it. And I remember years ago looking at Sydney Water's website, even they had on it that you have to stand tap water 30 minutes before drinking it so the chlorine has a chance to evaporate. But fluoride's not that easy to get out of water. Calcifies the pineal gland. It does actually other damage to our bodies. It's a poison to adult bodies, and yet it's in our drinking water. And if you boil tap water, it exacerbates the fluoride content. So spring water or filtered water. So drinking plenty of clean water, eat fresh, healthy, nutritional food, and or go for a walk. Simple things. That's a simple thing that you could just introduce every day, is go for a 5-minute walk. If you're not exercising, if you're sedentary a lot, is just get up and move around. That's all you have to do, is 1% improvement. And the bird's laughing. It's a bowerbird, I can see it. Male bowerbird. I find the time between sleep and awake, and the time between awake and asleep, are powerful times to listen to thoughts and rephrase them. I was quite shocked actually many years ago when I started this practice as to actually what my thoughts were, especially on waking up. And rephrasing them has been a game changer, because that's when I think your brain waves are on the same level with your unconscious and your conscious mind. I think it's the beta brain waves. It is, oh no, sorry, the theta brain waves. So both of these times are when the subconscious and the conscious mind are open and on the same theta brain waves, allowing the healing of any negative implicit memories. You actually get to hear them. And so I do, and sometimes I will record my own voice with affirmations and play it back to me as I'm falling asleep or as I'm waking up, to set the tone for the day. Practice maintaining a healthy balance between conceptualizing and experiencing. Take time to be creative with your ideas and then find ways to implement them. Take small steps at a time. Is there an easier way you could be doing something? Have you a business idea to express your passion? Then take courses, join networks or groups, and take yourself there. The mind is a tool. Allow your heart to be the driver and use your intuition as the navigator. It is in the doing that shows your being the change you are seeking. So that was chapter 1. Beliefs versus truths. Reality check, please. And it's like looking at a lot of the things that humanity does these days. I'm baffled. We don't stop to question. Take, for example, 11/11 or Remembrance Day, Anzac Day. Has that done anything to stop war? Not from where I'm looking. And for me, realising when you go to a lot of country towns, and I think it was even in Hyde Park, they've got monuments of cannons and big giant bullets. So we're keeping the concept, the timeline of war alive all the time. Every time we see it, Remembrance Day, we're keeping war alive. We're desensitizing ourselves to sanctioned murder. So do we question? It's like, no, why do we keep remembering war? Why do we have to keep remembering war? Why do we have to keep remembering those that were murdered in war? People die all the time. Death is the only guarantee in life. the only thing I think every single person on this planet can agree that is the only one truth that can be guaranteed is that we will pass, all of us, in one way, shape or form, one day. We don't know when. Some people do, some people don't. And yet why do we specifically remember those that died in war? If we want a different timeline that doesn't have war into it, well, that means we've got to start shifting our focus away from war, away from those that were murdered in war, away from violence. Stop making ammunition. It's like thinking about these practices, thinking about these things. If you want to have peace, if we want to live in a peaceful timeline, well, then we've got to start embodying it, thinking it, living it, being it, expressing it. And that's where your focus and your energy goes. So for me, my mind does question, why do we do these things? Why does nobody question? Here's another one. Santa Claus. Christmas. Christmas. Christmas doesn't exist. What is Christmas? It's a concept. Boxing Day. Boxing Day was created for servants that had to work on Christmas Day for their owners, and they were given the next day off, and they went home with leftovers. That's Boxing Day. Santa Claus doesn't exist. Jesus was not born on the 25th of December. So what are we actually celebrating? Same with Easter. It's questioning these concepts and constructs that we live by. Halloween. Halloween gets celebrated the 31st of October in Australia. It's got nothing to do with us at that time of the year. It's another just man-made construct for consumerism, to keep us all in this left-thinking brain, very small-minded, following the crowd, not questioning, not doing anything but what everybody else is doing. So yeah, I guess I have a different perspective. I question things and concepts that we live by that especially not based in reality, that are not based on truth. They're just based on concepts for consumerism. So, beliefs versus truths. Reality check, please. Just plant those seeds of questioning. Why? Why do we do that? Why do you do that? What's the purpose? Good morning, Kookaburra. So on that note, aho, amen, so mote it be. Have a beautiful day.